Test. Test. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Good over there? Yes, Mr. Buckley? It looks like Rick's all on top of it. All right, so we'll call to order. What'd you say? I thought you said something. I'm sorry. We'll call to order the City Council meeting for Monday, March 18th, 2024. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we're going to do a moment of silence in memory of former City Council member Herb Bunke, June 3rd, 1932 to March 8th, 2024, who was elected to 2 terms on the City Council from 2002 to 2007, and later appointed to serve a 1-year term from 2012 to 2013. Greg.
Yeah, on March 8th, Herb Bunke passed away. Those of us that were lucky enough to have worked with him know that this gentleman was a real class act. Born and raised in Two Rivers, class of 1950 from Washington High School, went on to serve his country in the U.S. Air Force, came back home, worked for over 40 years at Hamilton Manufacturing, up to the rank of Vice President for Manufacturing. After Hamilton, held a similar position in charge of manufacturing at Metalware. I know he would point most proudly that it was to his family as accomplishments. And Herb leaves behind his wife, Marion. They were married for 72 years last December. 5 adult children, 16 grandchildren, and 19 great-grandchildren. So this community is really a better place for Herb's service, both on council, Two Rivers Community Hospital Board, Rotary, Legion, just a true pillar of the Two Rivers community. So we extend our condolences to Marion and the family tonight with this moment of silence as well.
Well, certainly. Rick, can you pop that on the screen before we go into a moment of silence so that people watching on Facebook or YouTube or on cable can just kind of see? And there it is. So we ask now for a moment of silence. Thank you for that, and thank you, Herb. Thank you for putting that up on the screen for the audience at home to see as well. Roll call, Amanda.
Tim Petrie.
Here.
Bonnie Shimulis. Here. Scott Steckmesser.
Here.
Adam Mahusky.
Here.
Jeff Delkey.
Here.
Tracy Coach.
Here.
Bill Leclerc.
Here.
Darla Leclerc. Here.
All right, everyone is present, so we can skip over number 5. Brings us to number 6, which is input from the public. Anyone wishing to address the council on something that's on this agenda or something you'd like to see on a future agenda, please step up to the podium, my right, your left. State your name and address for the record. Input from the public.
Now, or is it a later time?
Oh, right now. Yep.
Okay. Andre Robitaille, 2313 Jefferson Street. I know about half of you at this point, but I'm a recent, my family recently moved to the area in November. So the thing that I wanted to bring up is I did see that the sidewalk decals, the signage that's coming up for a second possible revision of that. And I had just a few things that I wanted to bring up on that. Just for context, that is, for those of you who can see it, the Realty office just down on Washington. So a few things. In that second revision, I don't see a rule about content that's pretty typical for sign ordinances. And when I say sign ordinances, I don't just generally mean like decals. There aren't many of those these days, but just about signs in general. Typically, in most cities, you will see something along the lines of the signs can only contain information for goods and services provided on the premise. It does a handful of things, but mostly it makes sure that they're not, say, selling off their allotment of signage to something else that's not there, or advertising something that's not on that premise. I also think that the number of decals is excessively permissive, hence the picture that I grabbed for you. If they have no additional public building entrance on a street, then a corner lot, I don't think needs an additional sign. For instance, and this is probably a bad example, but the department store, right? They have really two public entrances, but one's in a parking lot. There's no side entrance that the public uses. It's just the front. Why would they get two for their business? And really, because technically, I think there are 3 businesses in that spot that they have, at least 2, probably 3. Now they potentially have 6, and yet they only have a single entrance that is on a sidewalk. So that was one piece. You also haven't defined what a business is within the ordinance or anywhere else that I can find. So legally, it's really just a $150 fee to the state and filling out a form to incorporate yourself. And I know because I've done it. So while it would be a weird thing to do, you can just keep filling out the form almost indefinitely and just pay $150, and now you have more signs. So more typically what is done in city sign ordinances are that you say 1 sign per address, not business inside of an address, not someone with a 1099 inside of an address, but the address space itself. And then the last one, and this one felt particularly fun. So this one's a legal one that I'm not sure is true, but just a heads up to our city legal. I don't think the indemnification section 6 nor the responsibility section 7 are valid. And here's why. Wisconsin 66.0907, the sidewalk section, if you look in the footnotes there, the duty to maintain sidewalks in such a condition that they are reasonably safe for public travel by persons exercising ordinary care for their own safety. So that is the city's duty, that we have to maintain that right of way, that public right of way, so that anybody who's just, not being foolish, but taking relative care for their safety, that they can walk safely and no sense of harm. But if you look in the footnote, a city cannot delegate its primary responsibility to maintain its sidewalks, nor delegate or limit its primary liability in the ordinance, or I think it says by ordinance. That comes from a Wisconsin Supreme Court case, Kobylinski versus Milwaukee and S Transport Corporation, and the city of Milwaukee was a third party defendant for that. That was December 7th, 1972, and put simply, I mean, it just goes on and on and on and basically says the same thing over and over when you read through it. But put simply, the city cannot absolve itself of responsibility and effectively is going to need to actively maintain these decals to ensure none of them are a hazard. So it's not just a matter of saying, well, we wrote the part in the ordinance where the business has all the responsibility, they have all that piece. We can't be negligent because it's our duty by state ordinance and by multiple Supreme Court cases in the 60s and 70s mostly, that I'll give you the example, because often is the example of snow and ice removal. We can say as the city, you are responsible for getting rid of the snow and ice, or we'll fine you. That's the extent of what we're allowed to do unless there's negligence. So you can fine them for not clearing it, but if you don't clear it, it's the city that is liable. So that's all I got.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Input from the public?
Hello, my name is Jim Bob Scoot. I live on 1800 Jefferson Street, apartment number unit 206, right here in Two Rivers, Wisconsin. I live in an apartment complex called St. Luke's Place, and I was curious if there could be like for an elevator, like a minimum width for an elevator could be extended by 2 inches on each side for a wide wheelchair that needs to get in and out of the elevator. I was wondering if the city could make a municipal code to require an apartment complex to widen their elevator doors by 2 inches on each side to make it more easily accessible for a wider wheelchair that needs to get in and out of an apartment that can't use stairs, but that needs to use an elevator to get in and out, have better accessibility for them.
Okay. I do believe there are state laws that already work on that as far as handicap accessibility. I don't know what those laws are, but it's not, I don't believe it's something that the municipality such in Two Rivers would get involved in, would be my guess. But Jack can speak to that if he wishes.
That development is over 20 years old. I've got every confidence that the elevators and other aspects met code. It's certainly at that time. Typically on those matters, as council president said, the city would defer to state codes on that. We don't usually strike out on our own. I can't speak to whether current codes are the same or would provide for a wider opening. We can ask our building inspector about that. But that's probably the best we could say, because typically we will defer to the state. Yep. And I assume there were a couple things, not to engage in debate with any of the public, a couple things on Mr. Robitaille's comments. I assume city attorney or I can address when the council
we get
gets
up
to
to
that
that.
item
Yep.
on the agenda. Okay,
Perfect.
thank you.
Anything else?
Could, for like Walsh Field for baseball, I know the school kind of fought to have, tried to argue to have a diamond over by the high school. Could the Two Rivers High School baseball team still theoretically play at Walsh Field even past 2025?
For my understanding is they're gonna play at the high school starting this spring, is what I have been told. They have been working on that diamond. I know we are assisting them with getting their mound ready, and I think they're gonna be playing out there this spring already. They should have that field pretty much all set to go for them.
And the intent is to convert Walsh to softball, which was the discussion when council and the school board got together.
We will be playing Pony League there.
Pony League, okay, thank you.
The Pony League baseball will be at Welsh Field in May. We used to play that at LB Clark. Right now, LB Clark is under construction. So that'll fit very perfectly for the rec department to be able to use Welsh Field for that purpose.
Okay, will there be concessions at least at the high school?
I'm not sure. I'd have to defer to the high school on that one. They're separate than us, but you can reach Brian Gallagher, who is the athletic director, and he could probably answer that question a little bit better than I could.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Anybody else? Input from the public? All right, seeing none, we're gonna go to number 7, which is council communications. Any letters or other communications from citizens that anyone would like to share with the rest of council? Nobody? Bonnie?
Nobody communicated this with me, but I saw it myself. There's a big tree in Riverside Park. It must be 15 feet laying on the ground. Just one of those playthings that kids might get into trouble with, and not to mention all the woodpeckers coming for bragging rights. I did that.
I saw that. I see that every morning on my way to work. I drive right by it, and it looks like our Parks and Rec Director, Mike Mathis, headed up to the podium to answer that question.
You know what day you saw it, Bonnie? Because it should be gone.
Well, it was there this morning.
Oh, okay. Then I need to check with my guys because it needs to be gone.
Yeah,
So,
I think it was there yet this afternoon when I came
Okay.
by as well.
Yeah.
yeah. All right. We'll make sure it gets taken care of. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Council communications? No, Jeff will have some. Jeff?
I got, I think 3. Somebody had talked to me when I was out this past weekend. They said, known as the Candy Man, guy walks around town selling candy bars and candy for cheap at some of the local bars and restaurants. And they said he gets to be kind of a nuisance at times with the customers. And they want to know if he needs a permit to do that, or if he can just buy this candy and sell it. Kim, he's probably been at your place already. Oh,
That's one solution. We have vendors from special vehicles out in the neighborhoods have to be licensed, but I'm not aware itinerant vendors that are going and selling out of businesses. Of course, they are either doing it with or without the permission of the business owner, who certainly has the option to tell them to knock it off.
That's what they had been doing.
Yeah.
He'll still sit outside sometimes and wait for people.
Well, I don't think he'd be adversely allowed to do it on the sidewalk. Would that fall into
And Chief, I'm not sure if you're mindful of that. I know we have vendors from special vehicles or vendors that go door to door, setting up on the side, outside sales on the sidewalk downtown. We'll have to look into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, let's look into that and maybe Chief or Greg can get you an email back, a response on that. Maybe copy all of council so we're aware.
Yeah, if that's not under licensing, it should fall there, certainly. It seems.
Then I got another one. Somebody wanted to know when the scoreboard is going to be taken down at Neshota Park because where the baseball field was. I hadn't gone and looked, but apparently the baseball scoreboard is still up.
I don't know that there's a specific timetable for that.
doesn't work either, so, eventually we'll get it done, I guess.
It's,
I haven't thought about that one.
Okay, yeah, their comment was basically, we should finish one project before we start another. So that's what that was.
Okay.
And then I had received a couple calls on the Airbnbs, thinking same thing as quite a few people in the public had, that they should be limited somewhat, somehow.
Okay, so looking for Airbnbs to be limited.
Yeah.
And then also getting that scoreboard down at Neshota Park where we have the new playground, correct?
Yes,
Okay. Okay.
and
Mike, I'm sure made a note of that. Perfect. He's got it. His crew will get on it.
they're dealing with multiple priorities, but that'll be dealt with.
and that's all I got.
That's it. All right, then we're gonna move on to number 8, council reports from boards, commissions, or committees. Anyone have anything they'd like to report on? Jeff?
Personnel Finance Committee, been going through the city's goals and objectives, and we'll probably be finishing them up this Thursday.
And we ended up changing that to Friday.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
Friday.
Yep, Friday.
Friday, 8 a.m. in this room.
Good.
Okay.
Perfect. Darla?
All right, Environmental Advisory Board, which by the way, we meet tomorrow evening at the Behringer Room at 5:30. We have a lot of stuff going on with that, and some of the projects that we want to work on, we're having a little bit of a problem getting volunteers to participate. So I anticipate that maybe some of these projects will get backburnered until we have enough people who actually could get it off the ground. Now, for Main Street, I've got good news. We had applied for several different grants, and we received one grant, and it will cover us for our first mural. We have a location, and it's locked in. The contract still needs to be signed, but it's I can't go into great detail now until everything is signed, but it's a great location. It's a subject that's going to make everybody happy, especially since we're a bird city. If you don't know, the Ornithological Association, or whatever their name is, for the state, they're meeting here in May at Woodland Dunes, and it'll be perfect timing. So I'll have more information in the future, but it's been a long, a long road to hoe with getting the money and getting the rendering done. So something good. So we're seeing some good things coming out of our efforts. Otherwise, we have, for Main Street, we've got the banner art that's going on. We still need 4 more artists to get canvases and submit. And then, of course, Yarn Bomb Year 2. So, and the hanging baskets, which are going to be gorgeous. So our downtown is going to be looking really, really good this year.
Is that credit card? I forget who it is now. American Express? Is that just for Wisconsin, do you know, or is that for everyone?
And that was for an application that we put in for.
Yeah, it said a $10,000 Main Street grant.
I think that was just for, they have different grant, what am I thinking of, opportunities,
Okay,
throughout the nation. But this particular one, because there's going to be a lot of people applying, is for Wisconsin.
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, so if you're a Main Street member, check your email. I just saw that come today when I read that, so I thought that was kind of cool and an opportunity to kind of snake some more money from a credit card company, MasterCard, I think is what I
And
said,
we
right?
still have
Matrix.
other applications out, and we have good feelings about at least one.
Good, awesome. We like to see it.
Yeah.
Anything else? Tracy?
Last week, the library board, part of the director's report was that the searchable records from all the Two Rivers newspapers from 1872 to the present are now online. And all you have to do is go into the library, and for free, you can access it either with one of their computers or your own laptop, like I did. And search them. And I just, right before the meeting started, I sent you all an email with, and I attached the article that I downloaded. You can print them there, or you can download it to as a PDF to your laptop if you have your own. And I sent it to you. It's on the train wreck of March 7th, 1958. So I was going to give you a hard copy, but as you can see, it's going to be really difficult to read. So I did that. So take a, if you want to learn some history and just, it's a lot of fun. I went down the rabbit hole last week, Wednesday, and I was there almost at closing time, just looking up all kinds of stuff. So it's a great service, and our library staff, specifically Chris Homburg, worked with the folks that put them up there, and it was, I believe it was free, wasn't it, to us?
It was.
For us, because of all the archives that we provided them to scan in.
Nice. The wonderful job by our library, Jeff Dawson and his crew. So thank you very much. Anything else? Nope, nobody else. Looks like we got a couple invited guests. Hopefully they stick around should council have any questions for them. I'm assuming that's part of it.
Yes. We do have as invited guests tonight representatives of Accurate Appraisal, Shonda Stukursky and Colin Lauren. They're here to talk about the revaluation project that is coming up this year and will have an impact as far as assessed values for 2024. So the floor is yours, and
my name is Shonda. I'm the account coordinator for Two Rivers. We have about 107 municipalities total. Colin is going to be your statutory assessor, meaning anytime that we have an objection come through, he will look at it before the board. Him and I will work together. He is in charge of most of the review that we do in our municipalities. So we just have a.
Can I stop you just for 1 second? Rick, can you throw that on people's screen, please? I just want to make sure that they can see everything and follow along with what we're doing there. Perfect. Thank you. Yep. Nope. That's fine. I just didn't want them to get too far ahead without anyone seeing. Thank you. Is that
Good?
There you go. Yep.
Okay. So the last market update was in 1999 for Two Rivers. So we're looking at about 25 years. All the revals that we've done prior to that have been maintenance. So we never came to any buildings unless they pulled a permit, had new construction, was it demolished, splits in combination, and then sales, but only if the data would change. In 2024, every single property is going to be reviewed. Adjustments will be made based on the market value using recent market sales in the last 3 years.
So every municipality in Wisconsin is required to, by law, to be within 10% of equalized value. Once you're out of compliance for 5 or 6 years, the state will force you into revaluation. You're currently 3 years out of compliance. Residential looking at about a 58.6% ratio. Commercial is at a 91. As you can see here, looks like, yeah, the ratio is at 56%. Did some math beforehand. We're looking at roughly.
We're on the wrong slide.
Oops, sorry.
Nope, you're okay. There we go. Nope.
Whoops, are we missing a slide? I'm sorry.
It
That
looks
may be
like
an
it.
error.
That's okay.
Yep.
I was looking at roughly like 70% increases on average for the properties in the city of Two Rivers. As you can see as you can't see, because the slide's not here. but
Apologies for that, guys.
The ratio has dropped dramatically since it looks like about 2019.
I
with the-
apologize. There it is.
That's
There it
okay.
is. Out of order.
There it is. Yeah, ever since 2019, 2020, when the home values went up, the ratio has taken a dip. So hopefully we can this year bring it back to 100% and get everybody, all the properties assessed equitably throughout the municipality.
Yeah, so if you can see here, this is when the market was like doing really not so well, right? So it's taking you out of compliance here. And you guys have a couple of these sheets, know the market's doing really well. So it's falling that far out of compliance because it's been so long since a reval. Okay, so interim market update just means that all the property within your entire city is statistically reviewed and revalued to market value. A market value is determined by the sale of property on the open market between a willing buyer and a willing seller, free from undue pressure. Assessors do not add value to, bless you. Assessors do not add value to help set higher tax rates. The city does not collect more taxes, God bless you, because of the market update. The new values will lower the mill rate for 2024, and a new lower rate will be calculated after the budgets this fall. So a couple of things that we did take away. So we looked at the Zillow report for Two Rivers just from 2019 on the bottom. They've seen a 6.1% increase since 2019. So if we take that back to 25 years, you're going to see why he's coming up with about 70%. Some important dates that we have, we are looking at starting field work early in July. I have a monthly or weekly meeting with Dave, Tammy, and Sally. We stay connected just if we have any concerns or any questions going on with Two Rivers. So we will be sending out the trespass letters once our field staff is coming. We'll ask for the blueprints and we'll ask for any information that they need for new construction and things like that. We will be mailing the notices early August. The open book date is to be determined, but the date is going to be August 19th here. And we talked about an extended time frame because there's going to be a lot of people that want to have conversations. The board of review is Wednesday, September 25th, and we still have to lock down a time for that. Sally and Tammy are on a weekly, our social media team will send them an email for education, kind of like these things on the bottom here. And they decide if they want to post it on your Facebook page or not, just to get the word out there. I was talking to Dave, and the tax utility bill just came out and we had a huge insert in there as well, just getting people ready for the shock.
You anticipate offering, and you've done this in a lot of communities, offering board of review hours on Saturday. I was here in '99 when we did it, and I think we had about 400 folks come in.
Okay.
And frankly, I expect we'll have a large number. It's just the nature of the beast. And
For
to
the
the
open
extent we
book?
can be, well, no, for
For the
board
board,
review.
you had that many?
Yep. And I dare say we want to be accommodating of people
Okay.
with some Saturday hours. And probably for open books, at least some evening hours.
Okay.
Because I'm sure you guys will do a great job, but it just is not going to be pretty because it's a big exercise
Yeah.
in equity and fairness. And some values are going to change a lot. Not everybody's going to be at the average, or we'd all be happy. Not everybody's going to be happy.
Yeah, we anticipate that. It's kind of a shock. That's a big percentage, yeah.
Yep. On the other hand, very few of us would sell our homes for what they're assessed at right now.
Right.
Yeah. So,
It's not a bad thing. We
No.
just got to get you to 100%, yeah.
You're going to apologize for the slide shuffle.
Oh, you are
there,
fine.
But, so am I right though in looking at this? Okay, because with the state for compliance, non-compliance looks at our overall ratio, and we're for 3 years now, more than 10% out of whack. But does this mean, and we don't have that big of a commercial tax base to begin with, but that's assessed at about 90% of market, whereas residential is under 60. Does that mean effectively there will be some shift of the burden to residential from
Yeah,
commercial?
your commercial is carrying a lot of it right now. Yeah.
Yeah, and remember, council and folks watching, manufacturing assessments are the responsibility of the State Department of Revenue and have been for many years. So that's not under the control of the city or its contract assessors. So.
All commercial?
It depends on whether it's a manufacturing use. There are some uses in the industrial zoning districts that we may assess locally. But if it's manufacturing, the state takes care of that. Any other questions, council?
Anyone have questions? Because I got one or two, so.
Oh,
Go ahead,
yes, I
Bonnie.
do. Okay, I'm not understanding, I don't understand equalized value very well, but what do you mean that we're currently out of compliance for 3? I mean, how do you determine that? Whether we are or are not within compliance?
The Department of Revenue sets the values every year based on the real estate market. We don't increase assessments, or I should say, you guys don't increase the assessed values of homes every single year based on the real estate market. Your assessed value stays the same in maintenance years, like Shonda said earlier, unless there's a permit or something like that that would affect its value. So we are just bringing all of the properties up to market value to match the Department of Revenue's value.
The Department of Revenue, at least for residential, well, and commercial, does a sales study each year. They look at the actual sales in the municipality, compare the sale prices of those homes, which are, as long as they're arm's length transactions, should be indicative of market value, to what the properties are assessed at. So in recent years, when we've said, you know, I think last year, existing residential properties, per the state sales survey, went up 19% in Two Rivers. Our assessed valuation doesn't chase that. So that alone put us about, well, 19% out of whack with market. That followed a year where existing residential went up about 16%. So as we've seen this market-driven appreciation in values, that puts equalized, the state sets our equalized value to follow market, and our assessments are lagging back down here. So that's what puts us at about 56%. We got there in pretty short order after a long period of being in compliance.
Anybody else? Does that answer your question, Bonnie?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? Questions? All right. So obviously there's been a lot of new homes built since we were last reassessed. So if somebody built a home within the last, let's say even 3 years, because we've got quite a few new ones out in Sandy Bay Highlands, you're going to go through the whole process of reassessing their house, like walking through it in the whole 9 yards, even though they just got done? No?
No, we're not doing a full interior walkthrough of every property. We're taking all of the properties and the data that we have and simply putting it on a large spreadsheet and taking the sales of properties, of similar properties, and trying to assess them equitably between them. So if we have the data and it's correct on those houses, then that's what we're using to.
Okay. Okay. And then the other question I had is, are you doing this, everyone's reeval, by going past each house? Or are you doing it using Google Maps? Or how do you plan to get by everyone's house to see what it looks like and what its current condition is? And if everything that they had before, they still have, example, do they still have a 2-stall garage? Maybe they ripped the garage down, or whatever may have happened. Maybe they've added one, didn't take out a permit. Are you going by house to house, or are you using Google Maps?
If they didn't take out a permit or anything like that for what they did, then we won't know it. If that's what Open Book is for as well, if any of our data is incorrect, that's what we're here for. But we got all of our data from the previous assessor and the field work we've done over the past couple years. We haven't stopped at every single property, but we do, like I said, have the data on every property.
Okay.
So if it was a full reval, we would do, we'd knock on people's doors and hope they would let us in. Most of the time they don't. Having said that, this is why we tried to get you back into compliance before you fall out, because state of Wisconsin coming in saying, we're gonna reval them, cost the municipality a bunch of money. So that's the goal in trying to get you. So the interim market update is basically just market sales based on comparable houses in the same neighborhood, same style, same square footage, that have sold in the last 3 years.
Okay. Because you guys did Manitowoc too, right?
We had Manitowoc, yep.
Okay. Yeah, I just heard from some people there when you did the reval there that there's some people that it seemed like you must have went on Google Maps or whatever, because some of the stuff that you assessed them for didn't exist on the properties anymore. And I just want to make sure that same issue wasn't going to happen here. Okay.
Oh, and hopefully, education with Sammy and Tammy, we just will try to push out as much as we can for everyone. We understand there's a lot of people that don't use the internet. They can still give our office a call. That will be all in the directions, and that pink form that comes with the notice. Yeah, so if we can purify data, that's not a problem. We can change values based on what, conditional. It's gonna just be a little bit of a longer process since it's been so long.
That's all the questions I had. So if no one else has any, then we are set to go. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you for your time.
We'll see you again, I'm sure. Yeah. Okay, next up, Chief Minert can give us an update on the search and investigation related to Elijah Vu, was reported missing. It'll be 4 weeks tomorrow, February 20th.
Yeah, I apologize. I've had a lot going on here. So just to answer the question earlier about the vending that you were talking about, that's actually, you're referring more to a direct seller, which you would also need a permit for anything that you're selling that's not a permanent business. So anything non-permanent and from city property, you would need a direct seller's permit. So I'd have to look up. I didn't really listen to the whole thing as far as who was selling and what products, but I could definitely look into that because we take care of that. The other one that was being referred to was actually vending from vehicles. So getting to Elijah, thank you for those that continue to support our search efforts. Thank you to those that attended the vigil for Elijah Vu this weekend. Thank you to those that spoke. I know some of you are here or members of your families. It was well received from my understanding. We have maintained communication with Elijah Vu's family throughout all of this. Even today, before we pushed out a rather recent press release, we always make sure to keep Elijah Vu's family, his loving family. I'd like to add that because there are a bunch of them. We always like to release something out to them and let them know before we do so. So we've been working with them. I do know they appreciate all the support, the efforts from the community, from all the volunteers, and from law enforcement. So thank you. With that, the latest update that we released today was a blanket. I think everybody has seen in a lot of the photos, a red and white plaid blanket was found earlier in this investigation. And we just received confirmation that that is Elijah Vu's blanket. That was located on Goodwin Road, east of County B. So that's 3.7 miles as the crow flies from where he was reported missing in the 3900 block of Mishicot. With that being said, clearly we still have a lot of interest in the area, and we're requesting everybody, if they haven't done so, to search their properties. Encourage others that they know to search their properties. And by all means, please still be cognizant of people's property rights and make sure that you're not entering other people's property without permission. We did have a few tonight already immediately upon hearing this that were trespassing on other people's lands. A lot of those areas were already thoroughly searched by law enforcement, but there are areas that have not. So please look into that before doing so. I would also encourage people to look at the family's Facebook pages because they do have a number of upcoming search parties that are coordinated, and they do seek out to get those permissions. So that would be a good positive location to go. And most of that is at the Mikado Theater. And I believe Deja Vu is another location, but they have those posted on their website. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And thank you to all of your officers and all of the other agencies that remain a vital part of the search and investigation. So, Continuing with my city manager's report, would just note ongoing recruitments for electric meter tech. I think a finalist candidate has been identified there, so that process is moving forward. Finance director, we're in the process of reaching out to applicants for at least a couple of interviews on that very important position. Follow-up, council previously approved a parameters resolution that authorized the issuance of $3.02 million in 10-year notes for financing our 2024 capital projects. That issue was placed last week by R.W. Baird, and we obtained an interest rate of 3.59% on that 10-year borrowing. So that's less than the rate of 4% that was used in the financing illustrations that were reviewed at Personnel and Finance Committee and with City Council back in February. And it is, yes, lower than the 5% rate that was in the parameters resolution. Also worth noting, though, it's lower than the 3.78% rate that we obtained a year ago on our 10-year financing. So that's good news, and that on April 1st, that financing will close and we'll have cash in hand for those projects. Just wanted to share news from American Legion Post 165 and VFW Post 1248. Still very active in Two Rivers and honoring the service of those that have given their lives and in service to their country from this community. In time for Memorial Day, you will see 8 new banners in Central Park, right along the Washington Street frontage of Central Park, listing the names of those killed in action in every conflict since the Civil War right up through Sean Novak's passing in Operation Iraqi Freedom. So hats off to our local veterans organizations for this added recognition. That's always a pretty powerful thing when they read the names and toll the bell, honoring those that have made the ultimate sacrifice. And this will be a reminder that will go up each year a little bit before Memorial Day and continue past Memorial Day. Works out well also being in the park. It doesn't conflict with the high school graduation banners that have become a tradition. So something extra to look forward to when we all gather in Central Park to kick off the parade on Memorial Day. We do have of course, the April election coming up. In-person absentee voting starts Tuesday, March 19 at customer service here at City Hall. As you know, we have 5 candidates for 3 positions that are up for election on City Council. Anything else you care to share on that, Amanda? Normal business hours, 8 to 4:30, except on the very last day, right?
It will be open to 5 on the last day.
That's Friday before the election?
Correct.
Okay. Very good. And we would remind you that for voting at the polls are open at Abundant Life Church, if that's your voting place, or St. Peter the Fisherman Parish Hall, if that's your voting location, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Election Day, Tuesday, April 2. Pleased to say that our Two Rivers Public Utilities, working with the Municipal Electric Utilities of Wisconsin, is hosting a training session here in Two Rivers tomorrow. 36 attendees are signed up, utilities all the way from Florence down to Kenosha County. A good cross-section of Wisconsin for a day-long session on locating underground facilities. That'll be over in the Behringer Room of the Community House. So if you see a lot of utility vehicles parked over there, it's not a massive mutual aid event in downtown Two Rivers. It is, in fact, a training session. I dare say some of them are staying overnight. They're spending money in town. So we thank Two Rivers Utilities for adding to our tourism economy. If you want a great fish, on the other hand, they're going to be here too early for that, because that's hosted by the Fire Department and International Association of Firefighters, Local 423, Friday 9, Good Friday, 3 to 7 p.m. over at the fire station. You can either get it to go or dine in the big dining room that's normally the equipment bay. So all for a good cause, activities of the fire department and union throughout the year. And there's information on that fish boil. World on the Move is set up and ready for visitors at the Leicester Public Library, officially March 20 through April 23rd. It's been noted before. The Leicester Public Library is one of 15 libraries, kudos, Jeff and staff, in the United States, which includes libraries like San Jose, Columbus, Ohio, New Rochelle, New York, There might be maybe one that's as small or smaller than Two Rivers, not even one. This is a joint exhibit put together by the Smithsonian and the American Library Association, 250,000 years of human migration. In addition to the displays, there's active programming with programs primarily on Wednesday of each week, although there are some different dates. They are all free of charge, but due to space limitations, folks need to get a free ticket, which can be obtained at the library. The first session on Wednesday of next week is Dr. Pau Lohr on the story of our Hmong immigrants, certainly a story near and dear to us in Northeast Wisconsin here. So if you want to learn more about the often very difficult journey of the Hmong people from Southeast Asia to America, that's the first speaker. Then Bob Fay, well known throughout the county and the state, and native or a resident here in Two Rivers, on April 3rd about early settlement and immigration in Manitowoc County. Then just a little bit of immigrant, ethnic European immigrant music with Fox and Branch on April 10. We'll update this at the next meeting, but there are 6 or 7 outstanding programs being offered at the initiative of our local library in tandem with the Smithsonian and ALA exhibit. Check it out. It's amazing. And I know Jeff will have more to share as this goes along. Could I tap you impromptu to share the story you shared at staff meeting last week about the gentleman from Madison that looked you up? This is a good one, guys. It's a good one.
Thanks, Greg.
Sure.
So I was contacted by a gentleman who lives in Madison that his father his father's family is featured prominently in this display. His father lives in Washington, D.C., and was one of the first kinder transport children out of Nazi Germany in the late 1930s, prior to World War II. He was removed to Great Britain. His father was arrested and put into a concentration camp. The good news is the father somehow got out of the concentration camp. They all reunited in England and then settled in the United States. Well, the son now settled and lives in Madison, and he is coming up to lend his story and assistance to the exhibit next Saturday at noon. And I've been talking with NBC affiliate 26. They should be there as well. I'm hoping, fingers crossed. And just to add a little cherry on top, Joel, or rather Dan, the son, his in-laws are originally from Two Rivers. So it all kind of goes full circle. His father was an integral part of development of the kinder transport story for the exhibit. And he called his son and said, hey, this is in Two Rivers, get up there and help him out. So just a little bit of kismet. Thank you, Greg. You described everything just great. The exhibit went up Saturday, and it fits our space amazing. It's like it was built for Leicester Public Library, which it was, by the way. No. And but it really looks great. It looks professional, museum quality exhibit. Thanks.
Outstanding. Thank you for sharing. Our American story. That is fantastic. Would remind folks that the Vanderbroek Arboretum and Tree Sanctuary is offering their annual tree, shrub, and plant sale. You can go online and check out the offerings at the Vanderbroek Arboretum's website. And likewise, there's a link from their Facebook page. Ordering deadline is April 26th. Some good buys to be had on species and varieties appropriate to this area. Out at Woodland Dunes, it's Batty for Bats next week, Wednesday, March 27th, 10 a.m. This is a drop-in program with no advance registration required. Learn more about bats, the mosquito harvesters in our backyards and in our midst. The Environmental Advisory Board's educational series, Our Land, Our Water, Our Future, continues with a presentation on Thursday, April 4 at the Behringer Room of the Community House. And this featured speaker will be WPPI Energy President and CEO Mike Peters. Mike will be talking as he was a member of the Governor's Climate Change Task Force, and also as part of WPPI has been a leader in reducing carbon emissions, specifically for their client communities and around the state. So you can also learn specifically what WPPI is doing in our community, including buying a heck of a lot of electricity from the Point Beach nuclear plant, the nuclear plant we all love just up the lake, and purchasing also from the Point Beach Energy Center, which was 100 megawatts built based on a long-term purchase power contract between NextEra and WPPI. They're doing good things on our behalf, and we need to tell that story. We don't always. The ad hoc committee looking at aquatics needs for the community, or shorthand, the ad hoc pool committee. Our Parks and Rec Director, Mike Mathis, has reached out to committee members. The meetings of that group are scheduled for 6 p.m. on the first and third Wednesdays of each month. There are 5 Wednesdays in May, so if they need it, they'll do a fifth or a meeting on the 5th Wednesday in May. That all starts this Wednesday, March 20, and this is a public body, so agendas for these meetings can be found online on the city's website, tworivers.org. So look forward to that board tackling some meaty issues handed to them by the city council and helping make some long-term decisions for the community. We just want to remind folks again, we're back on the air on cable TV, especially now that we're back in the council chambers. This is just a reminder we're putting out on Facebook regularly. I won't repeat it all, but the regular meetings and work sessions regular meetings are telecast and live streamed on Facebook, as are the work sessions. And you can find all of the agendas for council and all of the boards and commissions on the city website. Anything else, go to explore2rivers.com. I will mention, I see Joe Metzen back there. Joe represented the city and its tourism programs at the Governor's Conference on Tourism in Lake Geneva last week. And you go back about the weekend before last, was with Manitowoc's tourism folks representing our area, our community at Canoecopia over in Madison and Dane County, with a great audience of folks interested in all things paddling. Well, paddling on the water, at least, around Wisconsin. So with that, and with thanks to Phil Rohr for another great drone photo, that's my report for tonight. Thank you.
Beautiful picture.
That is
He does some
beautiful.
good work, that guy.
Phil Rohr has, he's even sent his drone up for some of our special event requests, and we thank him for that.
Good work. All right, on to number 10, which is the consent agenda. Under A, we have a presentation of minutes. There are 2. It's a city council work session for February 29th, 2024, and a city council regular meeting of March 4th, 2024. Recommended action is a motion to waive reading and adopt the minutes. Under B, minutes of meetings, there are 7. The recommended action is a motion to receive and file. Under C, department reports for February 2024, there are 10, and the recommended action is a motion to receive and file. Under D, summary of verified bills for the month of February in the amount of $7,112,093.58. Recommended action is a motion to receive and file. And finally, under E, a recommendation from the Plan Commission meeting of March 11th, 2024, to set a public hearing on the amendment to Section 10-1-15, height and area expectations as it relates to the placement of garages in front and side street yards. The recommended action is a motion to set public hearing for April 15th, 2024 at 6 p.m. The recommended action for the consent agenda as a whole is a motion to approve the consent agenda with the various actions recommended. Looking for a motion on that. Thank you, Bill. Second by Bonnie? Okay. All right, so we got Bill and Bonnie. Any council discussion? Yes?
A question on the height and area exceptions. How was that all going to be determined, and are they planning on lifting some of the restrictions that you can go higher?
It's primarily area restrictions as to what can happen in front yards and street side yards. Again, street side yard being if you got a corner lot, the side that's toward the street. I guess that's obvious, but sometimes it throws people. Right now, there's a prohibition on placing garages in street side yards, for example. And what the Plan Commission proposed was if you've got a street side yard that's big enough that you can place a garage and it meets the normal setbacks in all respects for a primary structure, not a shed or garage, but a primary structure like a house, and you have existing driveway access to that side street, which I think makes it a pretty narrow subset of properties in town, even of corner properties, then you would be allowed to place a garage. And this was with a specific example in front of us of a property with a pretty accommodating side yard, except right now our zoning code says, no, you cannot. Adam, Adam's on Plan Commission as well, but that was pretty much it.
That is
And
correct.
the other one was a gentleman that has had a request that, for the right reasons, was denied by the Zoning Board of Appeals last summer for placing a garage in what would be the front yard of his house. However, his house sits over 1,000 feet away from the street. And if this amendment as proposed would pass, it would allow placement of a garage in a front yard if, and I'm sorry, I'm going blank, if it was, I believe, at least 5
acres.
Yeah, at least 5 acres, and the house itself was at least 500 feet
off the
real
street.
property.
Yep.
Yeah, and then it too would be subject to the same setbacks as a primary dwelling. So it's a little limited, but it's meant to, I guess I'd say, if approved, open the door a crack to, in limited cases, garages in front yards or street side yards. And I'm sure we'll have some illustrations that can be shared with the council and the public at that hearing.
Yep. Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion carries. On to our formal items. Under A, we have a motion, We have Manitowoc County ARPA voluntary program deadlines. A staff report to county. Recommended action is a motion to receive and file that report. Greg, any background?
Yes, we simply wanted to share this with council, and that's why the recommendation to receive and file, so it's of record, at least public record. The clerk's office and my office received in early March this letter that's in your packets dated March 5th from County Executive Bob Ziegelbauer. He points out that we're now in the 3rd year of what he terms Manitowoc County's voluntary ARPA sharing grants with local municipalities. You recall the county offered to match dollar for dollar our city expenditures of the ARPA funds that were provided directly to the city to the extent we spent those funds on abatement of lead in our water distribution system. We did some of that last year with reconstruction of Lincoln Street and a few scattered site lead service lateral replacements. We are planning to take care of the balance of our share and the county's matching share with the Roosevelt project that was awarded last meeting by council, and a major contract for probably a couple hundred, up to 200 LSL, lead service lateral replacements around town. These monies have to be, the federal monies have to be committed, I'd use the word encumbered, by later this year. They have to be spent by the end of 2026. In reply to Mr. Ziegelbauer's letter, our city engineer, Matt Heckenleibel, prepared a letter that's ready to go out, assuming council's okay with the receiving and filing this tonight, to Mr. Ziegelbauer, outlining the city's plans to make full utilization, or darn near full utilization, of the county monies. We'll come a little short of matching dollar for dollar because I believe last year on the scattered sites, we did some 2 years ago, we did some of the street restorations with city crews. And while that's allowed under ARPA, the county has taken the position they won't fund that. So that will short us a little bit, but we're gonna come darn close to matching dollar for dollar with county funds. And we believe this is fully responsive to the county exec's letter. And while there's a little breathing room in getting a response out, he was asking for it by Thank you. By July 1st, we thought, heck, let's get it out of the way because the plans are in place. So with that, any questions, Matt, be happy to come up and answer them. Otherwise, the staff recommendation is to receive and file.
All right, looking for a motion to receive and file such.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Jeff. Second by Tim. Council discussion. Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. B, resolution authorizing application to WDNR for urban forestry grant funded through Federal Inflation Reduction Act, IRA. Recommended action is a motion to waive reading and adopt the resolution. Am I getting Greg or Mike on this one?
Mike, why don't you go ahead and talk about this?
All right. Parks and Rec Director Mike Mathis will update us on that.
So the Wisconsin DNR received $4 million from the Inflation Reduction Act from the federal government to be spent on urban forestry projects here in Wisconsin. That grant money must be distributed this year. And the other really good thing for us is that there is no matching dollars required for those grants. So pretty big pool of money that's available. No match for us. One small catch in that it has to be applied into a disadvantaged community as defined by the Wisconsin DNR, which the south side of Two Rivers, kind of up the Washington Street downtown corridor as well would apply for that. So those funds must be applied into those disadvantaged communities. Talking right now with Two Rivers Public Schools about doing something around Koenig Elementary School, maybe planting trees on the campus, apple trees on the campus, doing street tree work, planting trees on the south side, and then finding ways to get students involved in that. So we're hashing out a project. This isn't due till June 1st, but yeah, just finished up the paperwork to make sure that we're good to go. So great thing, no match for this one. So yeah, it's a good opportunity.
Good find. We like that.
Can I ask a question? But is it for just planting trees, or can you apply it to getting rid of things like the ash?
Yes, we can use it for pruning trees, removing trees, planting trees, and education outreach. We're going to take a education outreach kind of tact towards it because I think that's a good angle for us to get the grant. Because a lot of the organizations that are applying for this are the city foresters. And so we're going to take a Parks and Rec approach and see if that makes us a little different. But hopefully, yeah, get some a little bit of funding to do all the different things for street trees.
All right.
Roosevelt will be a natural focus if we get funded because that lies, and it, you know, Mike says south side. Well, that also corresponds to our opportunity zone. It's the census tracts that show the largest percentage of lower income households. That all makes sense. This year's tree planting budget is going to be largely consumed, which is local funds with following the street reconstruction on Lincoln Street. So thinking ahead, this might also help us on Roosevelt where a whole lot of trees could go once that street is done. Good work.
I'll make a motion to waive the reading and accept the
Thank you.
resolution.
Thank you, Tracy. Second by Darla. Any further council discussion? See none, it's a resolution which requires a roll call vote. Amanda?
Adam Mahusky.
Aye.
Jeff Delkey.
Aye.
Tracy Coach. Bill Leclerc. Darla Leclerc.
Aye.
Tim Petrie.
Aye.
Bonnie Shimalunas. Scott Steckmesser.
All right, thank you for that. Motion carries. On to C, which is a resolution amending the 2024 city budget to provide increased funding for general fund budget contingency to help offset extraordinary police department costs associated with the Elijah Vu search and investigation. Recommended action is a motion to waive reading and approve the resolution as recommended by the city manager and the Personnel and Finance Committee. Greg?
Well, first of all, it's hardly a surprise to anyone that the city is incurring extraordinary costs in our police department with the ongoing search and investigation. Just by way of example, the primary driver, overtime. Our police budget includes in overtime wages $130,000 for this year. Part of it's in command staff, part of it for patrol staff. In the last two-week pay periods, we've expended about $71,000 in overtime. So over 50% of the OT budget in 1 month basically. There are some other ancillary costs related to the investigation as well. And it isn't anything there's any discretion in. Obviously, none of us would presume to second guess any of the activities ongoing with this important search and investigation. So by the same token, it's appropriate that we take a look at our budget and gird ourselves for what sort of extra costs might be incurred. Council touched on this at the February work session where there was consensus to defer for this year action on filling 2 new positions that were authorized in the 2024 budget, one of which was wholly general fund, public works maintenance worker position, one of which a proposed GIS position. Still a good idea, but on hold for now, that would have been 20% funded out of the general fund. So this is something I brought forward along with our finance director to the Personnel and Finance Committee at a meeting 2 weeks ago. They unanimously recommend it for approval by council. And the intent is to take our budgeted $310,000 contingency for the general fund, which is only about 2.5% of an $11.2 million budget, and which was not fully funded, but funded in large measure by reappropriated surplus, which we really don't want to spend down our fund balance either, and solidify that by, if you will, fully funding that contingency. This amendment does a little bit better than that, actually raising that contingency, to about I'm losing track here now, I'm sorry, to about 336,000.
336.
Yeah, thank you, $336,000 through various means that are identified in the amendment. There is, if you go down through the little Excel box that was inserted into the resolution, we want to eliminate any use of carried over fund balance for contingency. So that means finding $222,500 somewhere else. That included an increased transfer from Fund 417, the Industrial Development Fund. That was offset by $16,000 less being transferred to the ECDev budget, Fund 291. Why? Because 291 ended last year about $16,000 better than we were projecting at budget time. So the view was it didn't really do any hurt there. In addition, and this is a one-time revenue that in different times I would say we'd put in the capital fund, but we're getting a $55,000 focus on energy rebate on the new HVAC controls that were put in last year. Normally would recommend that go to capital, but in this instance, I recommend, and finance agreed, that we help fund our contingency with that. There are the 2 positions that I addressed earlier that we would not fill in this budget. Also recommending about $51,000 in cuts to the snow and ice budget. We aren't going to be able to replicate that every year. At least I don't expect we are. But the reality of this year is we're coming in well below budget. And that's only taking reductions to the overtime, part-time seasonal driver, snowplow driver and hauler budgets, and salt and sand budgets. So it's not cutting Public Works full-time wages and benefits, because that within the Public Works budget is like stepping on a balloon. If you're not paying it in one area, you're paying it in another. So those are with cuts to things that can be cut in snow and ice. Moving bridge inspections for this year over to bridge capital, but still with taking that the full-time maintenance position out, adding back $15,000 for 2 summer seasonal positions. And as I understood that was some latitude given by the Personnel and Finance Committee when you acted on the amendment. Because when we funded that full-time position, we did cut funding for part-time positions. And if we can find good summer workers at $15 an hour to assist with things like painting and cleanup projects, that's worthwhile. Also, $16,000 will come out of Parks and Rec, representing a 1% cut to the operating budget. And I believe that covers it, but it essentially amends our budgeted contingency up to $336,241 and fully funds it.
All right, thank you for the background on that. Looking for a motion on this resolution.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Jeff. Seconded by Bonnie. Any council discussion? See none, roll call vote. Amanda?
Jeff Delkey,
Aye.
Tracy Coach. Bill Leclerc,
Aye.
Darla Leclerc,
Aye.
Tim Petrie,
Aye.
Bonnie Shamunis,
Aye.
Scott Steckmeister,
Aye.
Adam Mahusky.
Aye. All right, motion carries on that. Thank you.
This item, actually, if Mr. Heckenleibel can come forward, D has two subparts that relate to the private side lead water replacement and two separate ordinances. One, basically, sorry about that. One basically cleans up our existing ordinance on lead laterals. And then the item identified as B is the new financing mechanism we've talked about.
So we'll start with A, which is an ordinance to repeal and recreate section 5-1-8 of the municipal code entitled Water Service Replacement as it relates to the mandatory replacement of illegal lead and galvanized water service laterals. Recommended action, motion to waive reading and adopt the ordinance. Matt, if you want to, we're going to take these as two separate. So if you want to go and address us on A.
So section 518 is, well, I'm going to back up a little bit. What we're trying to do is create the opportunity to utilize safe drinking water funds and be able to bring them into city separate accounts so that we can then loan those dollars out to properties that have lead lateral services or galvanized iron water services at a prescribed interest rate. Those monies then would be extended out on a payment plan. And when the money gets returned back to the city in equal installments, we take those dollars and pay off our safe drinking water loan that we will take out. So the state is requiring two items. One is to make sure we have an ordinance in place requiring or allowing the city to mandate to require the replacement of lead or galvanized water services. That is what we're talking about right now, section 518. The DNR provided us a draft ordinance, and a lot of the items in green are recommended additions. In a lot of cases, it is definitions and things of that nature. There are some strikeouts, and that is primarily for clarification of what we had to meet what the intention of the DNR is, if that makes sense.
Okay.
We've presumed for a while now that we had the ability to mandate require, whatever word trips your trigger, require lead service replacements, but this toughened the language up and better yet made DNR happy.
It will
make them happy.
Will make it easier and better clarifies our intentions.
Does this go to, as part of your memo, this will get applied to the property owner's tax bill?
That is the intent. So this section is laying out the groundwork on allowing us to do inspections, determine where those illegal services are, and then set up the program to come up with an estimate. The second half will be to create this loan program. And right now, what is being discussed in the Utilities Committee is a 5-year payment plan at a set interest rate. And then those dollars, similar to what we do on a regular assessment, will get rolled onto the tax roll and then paid back over a period of time. Now, the homeowner or property owner will have the opportunity to pay in full immediately, or there's also no early payment penalty.
So that's more of B, right?
Correct.
Okay. I just want to make sure I had it right because I was just reading the memo. Perfect. Okay. So we're going to take A, which is the ordinance to repeal and recreate that section. Looking for a motion on that.
I'll make
that motion.
Thank you, Scott. Seconded by Tracy. Council discussion.
Yeah.
Bonnie.
Why are you not including the wastewater laterals? Nobody's gonna do that if you aren't gonna require it.
The safe drinking water funds that we'll be getting from the DNR specifically address water services only. We want to include the sanitary laterals. We will investigate their laterals at the time, but these funds do not address the sanitary laterals and would not be eligible for refund. That would be the clean water, or we'd have to look at some other form of compensation. So we're going to strongly advise the property owners to do the sanitary laterals at their cost as it sits right now. So more than likely, we won't get too many takers on that.
Because you have to dig in the ground to do this, correct? I mean, that's the big thing. If you're digging that hole, because this was a problem when we started doing roads. And when they did the road in front of my house, I wanted those laterals replaced. And there was nothing, it wasn't. And I wasn't gonna dig that ground up later to do it either.
We strongly encourage the laterals to be investigated, and if in poor condition, replaced. It's the most economical way to do it, but ultimately it would be at the property owner's expense on the sanitary
Now,
side.
I know you're saying all that, but the point is it became an ordinance after that. Because of, and especially because of that money going around. You know, the thing is that people aren't gonna understand once they run out of work by replacing the lead laterals going into the house with water, they're gonna go after something else. What else are they gonna do if they can't find trouble?
That's true. That's their job. Find something wrong. Any other discussion? See none, roll call vote. Amanda.
Scott Steckmeister. Aye. Adam Husky.
Aye.
Jeff Delkey. Tracy Coach. Bill Leclerc. Darla Leclerc.
Aye.
Tim Petrie.
Aye.
Bonnie Shimalunas.
All right, motion carries on A. On to B. Ordinance creating a new section 5-1-8F of the municipal code to facilitate loans to property owners to replace private lead and galvanized water service laterals by treating principal and interest repayments, fees, and other charges for these loans as special charges eligible for inclusion on the tax bill for these properties, and establishing a segregated fund for the purpose of accounting for such loans and repayments. The recommended action is a motion to waive reading and adopt the ordinance. If you want to, I started a little bit on this one, but if you want to just go through the whole thing one more time.
Again, pretty much the introduction there provides a lot of the oversight. We are looking at trying to get safe drinking water dollars from the state, which we will put into a city segregated fund. The reason why we are putting it in a city segregated fund instead of a water utility fund is if it were put into a water utility fund, we would have to get PSC approval. We're trying to avoid that and therefore put it into that city segregated fund. As discussed, kind of the groundwork of the loan program, these dollars then would be offered to property owners at a interest rate a little more than what we will get the dollars for, and create basically some loan documents and an agreement, which will then roll these dollars onto either a tax roll, single payment, or prepayment as part of the program.
Okay, any questions for Matt, Bonnie?
And I lost my place. Is it, I'm sorry, I'm trying to, revenue pledge. What does that mean? And then what does it mean qualifying properties?
The qualifying property is going to be a property that has an illegal water service, so either lead or galvanized iron water service. And then the pledge is basically the agreement that we have with the state, and then the repayment and the agreement that we'll have with the property owner.
The state is willing to accept a revenue pledge for repayment of the debt as opposed to having to be GO or general obligation debt like the type you approved earlier tonight.
I know when I read this over the weekend, I can't seem to find it now, but there was an interest rate I thought it talked about at some point.
Again, similar to our assessment, we will get some sort of interest rate through the safe drinking, which is going to be significantly lower than our general obligation borrowing. And then it's strongly recommended we add an additional interest rate, similar again to what we do on assessments, to cover our administrative and our borrowing costs, so to speak. And typically that's been 2% over our borrowing amount.
Okay. I'd like to see us go with an interest rate of whatever it's costing us from the state for the Safe Drink Water Fund, in my opinion, and we can open that up for debate, I guess, when we have a motion on the table. But okay, so there will be some kind of interest associated with this.
There will be, and the final, this is just setting the parameters, so to speak, the general framework, and then we'll have to work out the quote unquote final details once we figure out what that loan interest rate will be.
It's fair to say that there would be a subsequent specific action of the council required on setting that rate. I would advise you might want to wait till then, because then we could be more specific about the base borrowing rate.
Okay.
Not to dodge the question, but there will be that opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to make the motion?
Oh,
Oh.
a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Is this the loan that the DNR is charging 0.5% interest?
Somewhere around 0.5% to 1%. Yes.
Okay. I thought so.
Anybody else? Questions for Matt? Bill?
It's gonna use subsidies to help people.
Part of the ARPA funds that we are looking at will be applied both on the public side and on the private side to help offset costs as well.
We're shooting for the $2,500 grant, like we historically have been able to give. Can't guarantee that when the ARPA funds dry up. We'll have to see what's available through clean, safe drinking water. Excuse me.
Okay. Looking for a motion on this.
Motion.
Thank you, Jeff. Seconded by Bill. Thank you. Council discussion. Yep, my only caveat there is the tax, which Greg would prefer that we divert to a time when we take that separately up.
We'll definitely come back before.
So I can certainly wait till then, but yeah, I will have concerns with jacking up the interest rate for sure. Anybody else? Any other discussion on this? See none, roll call vote. Amanda?
Adam Mahusky,
Aye.
Jeff Delkey,
Aye.
Tracy Coach, Bill Leclerc, Darla Leclerc,
Aye.
Tim Petrie,
Aye.
Bonnie Shimerlunas,
Aye.
Scott Steckmeister.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Thank you, Matt. We appreciate it.
On to E, Stormwater Annual Report. The recommended action is a motion to receive and file. I think Matt's waiting up there just to give us an introduction on the Stormwater Report that we all received in our packet.
You received a small portion of the overall report. The complete portion is almost 4 inches in thickness. So
Thanks for sparing us.
If you really want to read it, it's downstairs in my office.
No.
A lot of it is attachments of things that we have done, educational flyers, things we have put out on the website, things of that nature. But we ultimately have to tell the DNR what we have done over the past year related to our stormwater permit through the DNR. Again, kind of touched on it, but on the public education and outreach, public involvement, participation, our illicit discharge and detection, erosion control, our stormwater management, ponds, pollution prevention, and then ultimately some creation of some maps and showing that we're fiscally responsible. So that's the portion that you received, kind of briefly summarizes all that. All the attachments get into more detail of it. So.
Did you mention street sweeping as well?
Street sweeping is part of our pollution prevention and our post-construction minimum controls.
And we've kind of increased that, it seems like, over the past year or two. Or maybe not increased it, but maybe sticking to the plan that we had in place, but maybe not always accomplished, if that makes sense.
The ultimate goal is to sweep twice per month. Now, I'm not sure if that's twice, 2 times or 2 weeks per month, or literally just 2 days per month. But we're into the process of revamping our whole stormwater management plan. That was the urban non-point source grant that we received. So we just had a kickoff meeting on that last week. And part of that will be taking a look at how we street sweep, when we street sweep, and ultimately getting the most bang for our buck out of street sweeping.
Because I know early on, I think it was last summer, people were saying their streets weren't getting swept, their streets weren't getting swept. And then all of a sudden, I think we saw that street sweeper out routinely, which was nice. And I think we've even seen it quite a bit. I've at least seen it quite a bit even this winter. So it seems like we're really on par for getting everything swept, which helps this as well.
It does. And a lot of that last year was staffing, and we were working on other projects. So the sweeper didn't get out as much as we had liked. With this nice, mild winter, drier winter, we've been able to get the sweeper out and get a lot of that excess sand that we will put down or gets blown around off the streets.
Perfect. All right, thank you. Any questions for Matt? Bonnie?
Yeah, if you could, I think it would be nice if you could put it online, even on the website, if you had, only because I found it interesting. Maybe nobody else would, but anyway, I didn't know we had 146 outfalls. I mean, that's a lot. It seems to me. Maybe it's not. I don't know, but just stuff like that.
Those
And
two
to
rivers
see-
and the lake make for a lot of
What?
outfalls.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Those 2 rivers and the lake probably do make for a lot more
Well, that's
outfalls than you'd
true.
find in another
That's
city
true.
our size. Yeah.
Anyway.
And last year I put together a little statistical card about some unique public works things. And I thought outfalls were on there, number of manholes, inlets, lane miles, number of miles of storm sewer, sanitary sewer, et cetera. So those never made it to the website, but we definitely can put a little tidbit under the
Or
public
even
works.
like a link to this.
Again, this is only a portion of
No,
the.
I know, but nobody's gonna want to read the 4 inches.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I'm saying this is a nice summary of it.
So we can do that, or we can look into doing that. I don't know if our website will have that much capacity.
Oh, well, okay.
It is on the website. If you go under agendas and minutes and you go under the city council meeting for tonight, you will be able to find that in our packet as well. In case
Try
they
to
don't
market
get,
it with a photo of a catch basin or something
Yeah.
exciting.
just in case they don't get to putting it on the website. All right, looking for a motion to receive and file this. Anyone so willing? Thank you, Tracy. Second by Darla. Council discussion. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. On to F, we have an additional appointee to the ad hoc pool committee, Ryan Croyce. Recommended action, motion to approve the appointment. Greg, anything you want to add?
Just for background, late in the week before your last meeting, I had put an email out to several folks whose names I've gotten from the swim association, the Family Swim Club, specifically saying, gee, do you have some folks that could represent families with young children who are not presently or haven't recently been members of your board? And I sent out, in all honesty, on a Friday afternoon saying, could you let me know by noon on Monday? And you had a couple other appointments last time that were from that group. Ryan reached out to me Monday night of your last meeting and said, you know, I know this is a little late, but I'd really be interested in serving if I can help. Frankly, I think he'd be a good addition to the group. And this would be the final appointment, but I would ask that the council approve this appointment.
Looking for a motion to do such.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Scott. Seconded by Tracy. Council discussion. Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, because he's already been invited to Wednesday's meeting. It would have been very embarrassing.
That'd have been a little difficult to explain.
Yep.
On to G, consideration of proposed sign code amendment to allow private business signage, decal signs, on the public sidewalks in businesses zone district as a trial program. Recommended action, council discretion. I know we got that in our packet, which is described as the second version. Greg or Jack wanna?
Your options tonight could include further reviewing it and referring it to the city attorney if there's more fine tuning needed. If there's a limited amount or none needed, the council could consider setting a public hearing. This amendment as proposed to the sign ordinance, that's part of our zoning code, so it does require a public hearing before adoption. Also, as has been pointed out previously by the city engineer, there would be, we believe, the need to amend the public works section of the code specific to public streets and sidewalks for this ordinance. So this is the city attorney's update of what the council reviewed at the last meeting 2 weeks ago. And I'll just mention again, not to be difficult, but just as a matter of record, this is neither recommended by staff nor by the Plan Commission, both of which recommend leaving our public sidewalks and the public right-of-way free of private signage. Over to you.
Jack. Nope, that's you. That's you.
I don't think you were given the redlined version.
I don't think so either.
And I apologize for that.
Because I had some
It would make it
questions.
a lot easier. It would have made it a lot easier for you to see what I changed. I'll try to go through it regardless. Darla, Greg mentioned that Darla pointed out some errors in the recitals. I got two allows, or I have an allow and an allows in the second paragraph up there. So we have to strike the word allow. And he said something else which I didn't quite understand.
It's that last sentence in the second
As
paragraph.
required by law, to and including blank, you mean?
Right, yeah, including what?
Well, that's intended to define the trial period.
Okay.
Is that what the lines are for?
Yeah, that's kind of what
Gotcha. Okay,
I could have made that a little clearer, but that's what it's
Okay.
intended to do.
that makes
We'd-
sense.
We'd insert, or the council would insert some sort of date.
Okay,
That would
okay,
be the
good.
expiration of the trial period. With respect to section 1, I didn't modify that, but I think that provides information regarding the content of sidewalk decals, in that it states that they would be used to advertise, direct attention to, or promote the distribution, sale, or rental of goods and or services in and from a business premises, or a business, I should say, adjacent to the sidewalk to which the signs are affixed. I think the definition of business for purposes of the ordinance is implied by that language, but there should be no problem establishing as a separate definition an appropriate definition of business. I would have no problem with that, although again, I think the intent is fairly clear. What I did with respect to section 2, it probably doesn't show up on your copy. I just struck some language at the end of the first draft, which was more or less duplicated one of the prior conditions. So that's what's happened there. I do want to mention on section 3 size, trying to define it, I think the definition is fairly clear with respect to a square sign being 24 inches by 24 inches The intent was, and I think this was Matt's suggestion, that with respect to other signs, oblong signs that aren't squares, what he was thinking of was that the ordinance could say something along the lines of, as to other signs, 24 inches shall be the largest dimension of the sign. I think that would address what would be appropriate in signs that were rectangles or circles or oblongs, things of that nature. I think it'd be appropriate to put a limitation of some kind on there. So although I didn't add that here, I guess that's what I'd propose as far as further modifications to section 3.
On that, we had talked about having one.
We
in front
could
of the
make it
business,
specifically
and it
say
is for
that
the
there is only
business
one.
at the location only. I know we had talked about that.
We did talk about that, and we tried to address that somewhere in section 8.
Okay.
I didn't make any changes to that. But I agree with you, there has to be some sort of statement in the ordinance so we don't have a situation where a number of signs are placed on the sidewalk.
think we
I
talked-
understand that that's the case right now with the Y card thing, and the attempt to address that was in section 8, where reference is made to business premises located in the building may have one sidewalk decal. The corner situation, I'm not sure what to say on that. I could see that there could be different accesses. Really, I think that's really a matter for the council. There aren't really any legal direction I can propose to you as to whether businesses should have more than one sign if they're situated on a corner lot.
You want to get in on that, Darla?
I was just gonna say,
Excuse me.
Schrader's was used as an example. And there are 3 entrances. There is one on that side that people use. Regardless, if there's a business that has a corner, people are going to be walking on that sidewalk on both sides. And like I said, we had talked about having one decal. But for the corners, you would have one on each street. But we are limiting it to one. It's not going to be multiple.
Okay.
From what I recall. And to me, it seems like if there's not an entrance on the side, I don't think that should matter. It is on the business, so.
Distributing red line copies if that's helpful. Sorry about that.
Thank
Didn't
you.
realize it had gone out black and white.
I'm gonna pass it out to the other side as well, or Scott. I do have a question, in section 4, the second line, adjacent to the building. Does that mean it's gotta be up next to the panel that's closest to the building?
Well, it doesn't really specify that.
Okay,
And
I just didn't
that's-
know if that's what you meant by adjacent.
No, it was really just wanted to refer to the sidewalk itself.
Okay,
as
got
being
it.
Adjacent. to the
Okay,
building.
thank you.
I don't really say anything as to where the signs should be located within the sidewalk panel. You know, that's something that the council may want to specify, but this version doesn't.
Yeah, because I think we kind of axed that out last time.
Yeah.
That's what I want to make sure is that
Okay.
wasn't referencing.
No, that's certainly not the intent, and if it seems vague there, I can certainly clarify that. That's what I meant by single sidewalk panel adjacent to the building in which it's located. There certainly is a duty on the part of municipalities with respect to sidewalks. I feel the law is pretty clear that a property owner or an adjacent business, if they affirmatively create hazards on sidewalks, have liability for them. I don't think this is a situation where the city is delegating any kind of liability. I think that would require an assumption that placing a decal itself creates a defect in the sidewalk or is hazardous in some other respect. And I guess that's an assumption we can't really make at this time. There's so very little information, frankly, about these sidewalk decals. And as I said before, I haven't been able to find any ordinances or a mention of any kind of litigation involving them. So we are kind of entering into a new area here. But regardless, the purposes of Section 6 and Section 7 don't relieve the city of any kind of liability. They're essentially defining the relationship not between the city and the public, but between the city and the business or entity placing the sidewalk decal, which I don't think is a part of the sidewalk, and I don't know necessarily creates any kind of reparable situation. All we're saying is that if a business chooses to install a sidewalk permit, it should have an obligation to not pay or not be liable to third parties or members of the public. They may well sue them, who can say? But basically to protect the city, to indemnify and hold the city harmless from claims, should they arise, which I think just makes sense if a business owner decides to install these decals. The same thing with liability insurance. Again, that doesn't go to the city's duty, but it's intended to protect the city in the event claims are made. City may well have liability depending on the circumstances. But I see no problem, and I know of nothing which renders it illegal for it to seek liability coverage or an indemnification and hold harmless agreement from the entity that installs the decals themselves. Same thing with respect to 7. Again, that's intended to be an indication that as it relates to the city and the applicant is going to be responsible for damage arising from the installation of the sidewalk decal. Other changes, Section 12, I added some language with respect to the permit. As I understood, the council wanted to see, as far as making an initial fee for the permit to be $10 for a term of 1 year, subsequent 1-year periods to require payment of an additional $10. Section 13 goes to removal of defective sidewalk decals for those without permit, which I understood the city council wanted to see some language addressing. Should there be a problem with the sidewalk decal, and what steps would be available to the city in that case. I drafted this so notice is given to the extent possible of the problem with the sidewalk decal, or if no permit has been issued and a decal has been placed. Regardless, try to define the contents of the notice and what will take place in the event the notice is not complied with, reserving also to the city in situations where an emergency situation or where the decal presents an immediate danger, allowing a representative of the city to cause the signs to be immediately removed. In either case, wherever the city has to do the removal, item C there, really the last item on this version, gives the city the right to impose a charge against the property for its costs. That's basically what this draft attempts to do.
Okay, so when we talk about hold city harmless, we would essentially have or should have similar stuff when we allow sandwich signs or flags or overhangs would be kind of the same thing.
I think that would be prudent to do that. I don't know about overhangs, what kind of
it's over.
hazard they may create.
Well, if they were to fall or something
Okay.
were to fall off of that, whether it be a storm or just not good installation, anything like that would still fall under the city's sidewalk.
Yeah.
Right?
It would, but it's an affirmative act on the part of a property owner. or
Right, but wouldn't this fall in the
putting
same?
the sign out there, and if it falls over or somehow hurts someone.
I'm looking at it from a
I-
liability
Yeah.
prospect that the sidewalk decal shouldn't pose any more of a liability to the city than any one of those other signs.
That could well be.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, I think that's prudent. I mean, the effort, I'm in a position where it's basically part of my job or duties to try to protect the city as much as I can.
Right.
So.
Yep.
I was wondering, can we take, the reason I'm asking this question about taking time at the next work session or a future one and go through this and maybe kind of help Jack with some of what should be included or what we're missing. The reason being is that I know that we had a conversation about some of these portions of what we were concerned about that I'm not seeing in here. And I thought that they were going to be. So as far as I'm concerned, we have missing information that I think that, like the placement and I see that the number, I wasn't in the right spot. It does say 1. As far as safety, we've already talked about that a lot. There are specific vinyl items for these decals that have to meet a certain criteria, and those are the ones that the businesses need to use. So we've gone back and forth on safety, and I think we're pretty much agreed on that, what we were talking about would be fine. And there's some other things too. So can we talk about this more?
Yes.
I may well have missed things.
Oh, I
I'm not
know.
pretending to cover everything that was
Right.
discussed. Regarding the vinyl, though, as I think I said, I'm seeing more references to this PVC free aluminum foil base than the vinyl, but
Did it have the rating in there?
I don't recall seeing that in what.
Okay, because I think that might be
I saw.
important if we tell them what the rating needs to be.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Can we, so what we're missing there, can you get that off in an email before Wednesday
Oh, sure.
and get it back to Jack? Copy Greg, myself if you could, you don't have to. But I just want to make sure that we have it right so that when we come before the work session, we can kind of
Okay.
not do it on the fly, but have it prepared for,
Sure.
or Jack have it prepared with that information that we're missing so we can kind of put it to rest and not have to talk about it, then bring it back and then bring it. So we
know,
can
let's
kind of
not do
just,
that.
And
Yeah.
I'm hearing consensus too on, because this liability question for any private sign placed on the right of way kind of jumps from this section, this new section out to others, but there's a desire for uniformity there for projecting signs.
Yep.
Whatever, sandwich board.
All of it, yep.
Yeah. And I think too, we should look at it because I believe on most regular signs, the initial fee is $50. The renewal is 10, and you have to renew at least if they're over the public right of way or projecting, so it would probably apply to these. That might lend itself to a work session discussion. And we need an amendment to the streets, or the public works portion of the code as well.
Bonnie.
If we're gonna put this off, I'd like to see it at the very next work session. I feel like this guy's being kicked down the road all the time. This is
There are 5 non-compliant I'm sorry, not being too emotional about it or anything. There are 5 non-compliant signs that are there and nobody's doing anything about them. So I'm sorry, as far as kicking it down the road, I've directed our staff, it's being held in abeyance. It needs to be addressed in fairness. No objection to putting it on the next agenda. It'll just be competing with a few other things that this
Yeah.
council has also set out as priorities.
I don't think it should take very long on the agenda. I think it
I'll
should be,
send it to you
I think it
guys
should be
before
pretty
Wednesday.
easy.
Sure.
Because we have the majority of it down. We're just missing like 3 items. And once those 3 items get kicked on there, it should be exactly what we talked about at the previous council meeting. I get what Bonnie's saying. It's not, we're not ripping them off the sidewalks for them, but there may be other people that want to do it. I know, Mr. Van Ginkel ripped his off already. So, I mean, yeah, it'd be nice to get this kind of put to rest.
It is, but I think it's good to be careful.
Yep, we want to get it right at the
We
same
want to
time.
make sure we do it right the first time and not.
Did you have something? Okay, so then we're not gonna take any action on this at all.
Jack, just to confirm, you're available next Monday for the work session? I think your attendance is integral.
Love to be here. Bless you.
Yeah, that should be fine. Is that at 5:30 or 6?
6. As Greg is gonna mention right now, because we're gonna take no action on this, we have no action to take. Greg, take it away for information only.
25th, I expect we'll be revisiting the facade grant for the Hook Lanes. I had a discussion with Tim Klein today. You'll recall we had discussion at council last fall about facade grant there. Regular meeting, April 1st. No April Fool jokes on the agenda. And of course, the very next day is the spring election and presidential preference primary. And again, because we did do a shuffle on the dates just late last week, Personnel and Finance meets this week, Friday, with the goal of wrapping up a review of goals and bringing those back to the work session. And I will get those revised goals out to you guys, at least by, say, end of the day, Wednesday, so you've got a little advance time, but 8 o'clock Friday morning.
8 a.m., not PM, for anyone interested in coming. Coffee will be brewing. Not that I drink it, but Mr. Buckley does, and he's pretty
by
angry when he doesn't have it.
9:05, yeah, makes me talk fast. By 9:05, we'll be out of here.
All right. Looking for a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Jeff. Second by, Tim. Okay, throwing me for a loop. I was looking that way. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you and good night.